Hello and welcome to the Let's Create Art Paint Along. Today we're going to be painting a kitty cat. If you purchase the tutorial kit, you have all the supplies you need, the paint colors, the brushes, the canvas. You will want a cup of water, a paper towel, and then make sure you're protecting your surface with newspaper, a garbage sack, tablecloth, something that you don't mind getting paint on. If you happen to get it on the area where you're painting, just wipe it up as soon as you see it. Okay, so to start with, we're going to use our large brush and we're going to paint the background. I'm going to use blue and white to make it a really light blue background, but you can choose any of your colors on your palette, any of your options. So I'm going to just kind of put some blue down, and I don't want my background to be real solid, defined. If you're wanting a really solid and defined background, you want to do smooth, straight strokes. And then when we're taking paint off of our palette or out of our cup, we want to come off of a side rather than straight down in the middle. That will help us protect from any contamination of our color. So that way we can kind of keep our white. And then you can also wash your brush off in between. If you're getting too much blue on it, then just wipe it on a paper towel or put it in your cup of water and wash that out. And then we're going to go right up close to the edge of our cat. The cat is going to be hairy, so it's going to have hair that comes off over the sides. So you don't have to get it exactly precise, but pretty close. So my background is kind of going to have a little bit of a textured flow look just because of the way my brush stroke is. But if I wanted it to be a smooth solid, I would do just smooth solid strokes like that. And then this is blending. And so I want my paint to be wet. So I want the blue, I want to go pretty fast so that when I come in with this white, it mixes with the blue that I put down. This is just a fast, easy way to do a background that has some movement to it and isn't just a still, flat, solid background. There's no wrong or right way. It's just whichever way is appealing to you. I like the textured look, the movement. But sometimes it just looks better if your background is flat. And then down here under the cat, I'm going to go in a sideways motion so that it alludes to the fact that it's sitting down on like a ground or a table or something. It just gives it a little sense of grounding. And then you also want to make sure whatever color you have on your front, you're pulling off to the sides all the way around your canvas. That way it's completely painted surface. It's not a dirty, exposed, raw canvas, and it looks like you actually finished your painting rather than it being a work in progress. So we're going to go all the way around. I'm going to put just a little bit of dark like down here. So the more I blend it, the more I brush it, the more it's going to blend. The less I brush, the more it's going to stand out. So I'm going to brush this part a little bit less so that it stays a little bit darker rather than mixing and molding into a solid color. And then I'm going to check my edges. And then you can give it a minute to dry, or you can speed up the process by using a hair dryer. as your paint dries and it soaks into the canvas, you're gonna, you may see some canvas showing through, some little white speckly dots. That's just the raw fabric coming through. So we always recommend that you do your background and then you either dry it or let it dry before completely moving on, just so that you can do the second coat of background before you move on, because the cat's gonna have fur that comes out over the top of our background. So we want to make sure that we're happy with the way that our background is before we move on to the object on the top. So just after you get it done and you get the sides done, blow dry it or push pause and let it dry, and then you decide if it looks good to you or if you think it needs another coat of paint. If it needs another coat of paint, just do the exact same method that you did to begin with. That way it all looks cohesive and kind of goes together. It will cover up some of what you did with to begin with, which is fine. All right, so all of my sides are done, and I am going to blow dry it before we move on. So just hit the pause button and then let it dry or go blow dry it, and then we will come back and we're going to start our cat. Okay, so we are ready to move on to our cat. Our cat is going to be black and white, and then of course it's going to have a pink nose, and then I'm going to make my cat have a really light blue eye color. So to begin with, we're not going to use our large brush, we're going to move to our angle brush, and we're going to start putting on the black areas of the cat. The black is the most dominant color, and so we want to be kind of careful where we're placing it. And when we do this, the cat, if we want it to have hair texture, we're going to do a short, like hairy stroke similar to this. We'll have to come back and blend in some white to give it just some highlight shadow areas. But the trick here is to go in short strokes and go in the direction of the object. So the hair here is going to go down the body. So we're going to just kind of go that way. And the more you, the longer you go, the thinner the hairline is going to be. The shorter you go, the more choppy of a hairline it's going to be. So we're going to just put some black on here. And then I'm barely going out the sides just so it kind of has like the effect of hair but still kind of flowing. And we're going to work down. And then here it's going to kind of start curving around. And this is all just black right now. So we're just really kind of practicing the stroke. There's a little foot right here that's going to be white. So we're going to be really careful as we go along there. All right, so it should be looking pretty good right now. I'm just gonna keep adding some more black in here. And you don't necessarily have to get it all covered because we are gonna go back with a little bit, tiny bit of white, which is gonna make a gray, which is gonna just add some depth to the hair. If you wanted to just do this all solid black, that's fine. You can do it all solid black. It's just going to be more of a flat effect rather than like a textured hair effect. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to come around my tail. And so that is going to go out this way. And then we're going to curve around. And I want my tail to really have some like hairy ends here. So I'm just going to let it be really kind of jagged like that on the end. And remember, there's a white foot back there. So we don't want to fill all of that in. And then here it's going to just kind of come down. So you can really kind of hear the sound of a short brush stroke. All right. And so the more paint you have on your brush, the thicker it's going to be, which is going to leave little like ridge lines. That's okay if you want to use that. And then make sure your tail looks like it naturally just flows right along with the body. Okay, so I'm going to wash that out. And then I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of white from the side. Hardly any on my brush at all. And then I'm going to go in and just add a few like random hair strokes. And if your paint is already drying, then you can come back with some more black if you need. So I'm out of white. At this point, I want to make sure that I get the black off of my brush before I dip back into my white pile. And I'm pulling from the side of my white pile instead of going right on the inside. So we got some white in here. And I still have areas of my canvas showing. So I know I'm going to be going back with more black. So now we can kind of start seeing like a hair. And I'm going to come along my tail here. And I'm going to do very little amounts on my tail. I want my tail to be pretty much black. Or like a darker gray. So just make sure that you wipe off your brush before you pull any more paint onto your brush. And as we're going, like you'll see the original paint that you put down is drying and your canvas is starting to show through. Now I'm going to go back with a little bit of black, and I'm not going to fill in all the areas. I'm just going to put it like kind of in middle areas. So I still want that gray and that white there, but I don't want it to be really, really vivid. I just kind of want it to be behind. So I'm going right kind of in between where I put the white. And it's still wet, so it's going to kind of blend when I touch the sides of it. So to get hair, it's just a layering of different colors and shades. Well, all the same color, just making different shades. So you have to have a highlight and a shadow, so a lighter and a darker. And then you also need, sometimes, depending on how advanced you want to get, you could do a third color to make a, like a mid-tone color. And then you just layer it back and forth. So say I got too much black covering up my white. I'll just take a little bit of white and add back on the top. Alright, so she's looking pretty hairy and fluffy over there. I'm going to come over to this side, and I'm going to do the same similar brush stroke. Kind of just like right along the body, because I'm going to make the bottoms of her feet white. So I'm going to pick up the black, and we're going to go right along here, and the hair is coming down and out. And we're going to go right along the line. This line here is a chest line, and I'm going to do that kind of like a white gray. So this is your cat. You can design it to be whatever you want. You could do it all black, or you could do, you know, areas different than mine. That is completely fine. I'm going to take just a little bit of black and I'm going to go right along this arm. And then I'll bring the white up. There we go. That way our arms will kind of look like they go together. Okay, so I'm going to wash that out. And I'm going to go in with my white. And I'm going to start from the bottom. So from like the paw. And I'm going to go up. And this is going to be kind of gray. And that's okay. I don't want it to be stark white. So as I start meeting my black area, I want to make sure I'm going more up and into the black opposed to down and into my white. Otherwise, it'll just make my white really dark. So I want to make sure that it kind of meets and blends, but I don't want it to overtake the entire bottom paw. And you can wipe off, and then you can take more black and go back down into it if you need to do that. And then we'll have to stop and let it dry a little bit so that we can get it to cover without fully blending. So when you're trying to get it to blend in an area, you really want to just do it really smooth. Alright, I'm going to leave it there, and then I'm going to put some white back up into it. So we're going to move over here to this other side. And we're going to do the same thing. Only here we have a paw behind a paw. So we're going to have to give it some shadowing so that it doesn't look like one big solid paw. So we're going to make this back paw behind the front paw like a darker gray. Or you could pull the black down if you wanted to just pull the black. And then we're going to take black right back here over where our white meets. Alright, and then I'm going to let this sit, and then we'll come back and we're going to put more of the highlights in. And then we got this little paw back here. So we want to make sure that we get it. And you can make the hair kind of come down out past the paw if you want. Go back and add some lighter hair now. And if at any point you get it like all one solid color, or it just keeps like turning into one solid color, just stop and blow dry it and then try it all again. Like just try blending, putting your colors back on again. Sometimes whenever it's wet, it just wants to make a new color, and it's just easier to stop and blow dry it and then try your blending again. And you can always put more white on once it's dry. So now I'll go back and I'll just put some more white on, and then that gray underneath will still kind of show through like a shadow. And then here, I can just use a brush with no paint on it and just kind of make it smooth softly. And then if you need to go back and you need to put some more like hair, it's really just a matter of playing around with the colors and your hair stroke until you get the cat's hair how you like it. Alright, so I'm going to leave those feet how they are. So I have a little bit of a darker back here, which is going to separate out my 2 feet together. And then over here on this other paw, if you need to come back and put some more black hair, you can do that. Or you can leave it so that the paw is on the front and the hair just goes back in behind. So the key to separating an area like the tail from the body is using the shadows and the highlights, which is the black and the white. So if we have black back here on the body, we want to make sure we have a little bit more white pretty close to that edge on the tail. And it'll just make it look like it's sitting in front of and closer to you. And the back of the body is back behind. Okay, so for the belly, right here, I'm gonna go with straight white. But since we've been working with the black, we're gonna naturally have a little bit of gray coming through. And that we're gonna use just for definition. So we want kind of a darker gray right here around the face of the cat. And then we're going to kind of do the same thing we did over on the rest of the body, just using gray and white to get a hairy blend. Or you could just paint it solid white. If you did the back solid, then you don't need to do blending here either. You can just choose solid white or solid gray. And it's a hairy cat, so we kind of want a little bit of hair. So we want to leave some of that darker gray right along that chin line. And then if you get it too much, like over a leg, then just take your black and go back. And then you can kind of bring it up into, and it'll look like hair. All right, so let's wash our brush out, and we're gonna move into the face. So for the face, I'm going to do a little bit of darker gray, like right here under the mouth line. But you can make your cat whatever design you want. If you want it to have like a black head, or if you want it to be all white, then that is completely up to you. Now I'm going to take my white and I'm going to start filling in some more of its face. So I'm going to come around the gray that I just did and kind of pull it out. In the face, I'm not going to make as hairy as the body was. So you can kind of see how the gray is defining the head. And then right here's the nose. It's going to be pink. But I'm going to go up. Some more white. I'm going to go up like a nose. And that gray is going to work to define that area as well. Where I'm going to go as close to the eyes as I can. Then I'm going to wash my brush off. Fix this little area right here. Alright. Now I'm going to wash my brush off. I'm going to come in with just some really clean white. And I'm going to come down into my gray. Just to kind of soften it a little bit. But I want to leave the edges clean so that I keep that darker area there. And I'm using really little bit of paint. So clean white, just a little bit, and I'm going to come down. Okay. Now I'm going to take some black and I'm going to go around the ears. And you can decide if you want your ears to have hair coming off of them or if you want them to be more flat, solid. I'm going to come over to this ear. I'm going to do the same thing. And I'm leaving a spot in the middle. And then I'm taking what's left of my brush and kind of going around the edge. Okay, so at this point we have a base coat of gray and white for our mouth and our nose. And now we have done the black ears. We're going to, you can take a pencil if you want and sketch in some line, like areas that you want to leave white and some areas you want to leave that, so you know where to paint around. Also, if you need to fix any like eye circles or eye areas, you can do that now also. Alright, and then the rest of my face I'm going to make black except for the nose here and the mouth area down here. So this is my nose where I'm gonna have it be pink. And then there'll be like darker holes right here for the nose. And then I'm gonna carry, my mouth is gonna go down from the middle of the nose, and then you're gonna swoop out. And if you still have your lines, then you probably don't have to do this part. But if you lost your lines, this is an easy way to get it back. And then this down here is just the under chin. Okay, so I kind of have my drawing back now on my cat. I'm going to take my brush and fill the rest of this area in with black. And then we have an undertone of gray already down, so you don't necessarily have to get it all completely like coated and filled in. The face is naturally a little bit smoother than the rest of the body. If you make the face really hairy, you're gonna get more of a grumpy cat look, which could be cute. Alright, so now I'm going to go right around my little line over here that I made. And then fill that area in as well. I'm going to go right around the eye. And then you can go slightly like around the nose right here. Really thin. And we'll do the same thing over here. So this is like the shadow behind the nose. So we want it to be really thin. And we are going to have our eye here also, so it's going to get pretty dark. We're going to have to use some highlights over there. And then I'm going to even this out, like make it a little bit curvier. And you can add some hair in if you want, or you can leave the face a little more flat. And then I'm going to make sure that my ears are connected into my head. Same thing over here. So they're going to naturally just kind of flow off the top of the head. And I've left the insides for now. You can choose if you want the insides of your ears to be pink or if you want them to be like a gray. We just want to make sure that the ears are flowing smoothly off of our head, the cat's head, not our head. And then we're going to round that out. And then I'm going to continue here with the black, but I'm not going to go all the way down the nose. Okay, I'm going to go over our head here. And then I'm going to kind of just work down into the nose area a little bit. And you can round it if you want it rounded. And then this isn't going to be like really even because it's going to have hair. It's going to, like, the cat has hair on its face, so we don't want really smooth lines. You can just take some of your black and go backwards like lightly so it looks like hair, or you can take your white over the top, or you can do both. The trick is to just make it look like it's kind of like flowing together right here. So that's the black down, or we can take the white and kind of just fleck up. And then you have, now you're kind of making like a gray. And with that, you can go around and put some hair, really light highlights to give it some hair stroke look on the cat's face if you want that. This will just give it like that shiny parts of the hair, like there's light shining in areas. And we want it to be minimal. Otherwise you'll get a grumpy cat. And then you can do the same thing up in the ears. And then as this dries, you can come back and smooth out any gray area that you got. And if you need any areas covered again with a second coat of black on the face, then you can do that also. Okay, so I'm going to let that just sit and dry. And then I'm going to make the insides of my ears tiny bit pink. So I'm going to grab just a little bit of pink. And I'm only going to put a little bit in there because I don't want it really bright pink. And then I'm going to take the white and blend in with the pink. So if you get too much pink on there, you'll just add more white. If you don't get enough pink on there, you can add just a tiny bit on. And you don't have to have your edges really even here. But if you get them too much, you can always go back and smooth it out with your black. I'm going to put just a little bit of highlight in my ear. So I'm going to go right through the middle. And then I'm going to take just some straight black and fix any edge spots that I need to be darker. And so we want a little bit of darker right along the inner part of the ear, because we want that inner part to look like it's like inside. Okay, so while I'm doing the pink, I'm going to do really light pink. So I'm going to wash my brush out from any of the black that might be on there. And I'm going to get some white, and then I'm going to add just a tiny touch of pink. If you want a brighter pink nose, then just use more pink than you do white. If you want a lighter pink nose, then you're going to use more white than you will pink. All right, and now I'm just going to kind of line right along this edge here. And then I'm going to add a little more pink. So it's kind of like the shape of, kind of like a dolphin or a mermaid tail. All right. Now we're going to take a little bit of black and a little bit of pink and make like a darker pink. This is going to be for the nose holes, so we want it to be pretty dark. And then the holes are going to go right here. And then it's going to kind of go right up the side of that nose just a little bit. But leave the middle, the bright pink. So that's going to be the tip of the nose. And then we're going to do the same thing on this other side over here. And then you can take a little bit of black and just line around the edge. And then we're going to follow that black line right down into the mouth as well. And if you need your nose holes to be a little bit darker, you can add some black there. And we're going to follow the mouth, the smile line, down from the nose, and then we're going to curve out to the chin. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. And I'm going to go ahead and just follow it right around the chin line. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to take a little bit of white and I'm going to just kind of rub down into the nose so it's not like a really harsh line. And you can take some of your light pink all the way up the side of the nose if you want to give it like a little bit of a highlight up the side of the nose. You can do that also. And if you got your smile line too big, you can add some white just like right on the sides of it, or you can go put some highlight. If your chin area is really dark, you can put some white highlights down here in it. If you need to put some more white highlights in the hair of your face to give it like a reflection, you can do that also. All right. And then if you, down here in the feet, if you want some more white, you can, I'm sure it's dry now, you can add more white on there. Or if you don't, then we're gonna put the black little paw markings in. So we're gonna pick up a little bit of black, and then we're gonna do just curved half circles like toes. You can also use like a black Sharpie if that's easier for you. And then over here on this one, and then back here on our back paw, You can do a little bit of black right along the edge here if you need to define the 2 feet. So there'll be 1 back there on the back. And then if you need any areas here filled in, you can fill it in with black, like it's the back hair of the body. And you can do the same thing over here if you need something extra over here. All right, so at this point, we are ready for our eyes. So to begin with the eyes, you can decide what color of eyes you want your cat to have. I'm gonna do a really light blue, so I'm gonna take white with a little bit of blue and mix to make a really light blue. And then once you get the color of your eye determined, we're gonna fill in the eye circle. I'm just gonna fill it all in, and then I'll come back and put the black in the middle. You can do the same thing over here. And then I'm going to take a little bit of the darker blue, just a little bit, and kind of just do a little bit of blending around like a U. And then I'm going to wash that out. And I'm going to grab a little bit of my white. And it's too much. Then I'm just going to kind of bring that through. So no eye is just one solid flat color. So this helps give it a little bit of difference in the eye. And then if I decided I needed some more blue, I could add some more blue. And most of the times the eye is darker along the outside rim. So we're going to want to push the darker color around the outsides. And it looks creepy right now, but we're going to put a black pupil in and it'll look better. And I'm going to come back and just work it a little bit more. And I can always go back and fix like any areas that I came out on my black. So I'm not too concerned about that either. Just try to stay in the general shape. All right, so now there's some variation in color. And we're gonna take the black, and you can use the back side of your paintbrush at this point or the front side, and we're gonna put the pupil in. So the pupil is gonna go right about here. And if your paint is really thick, you're gonna wanna dry it first. If it's not, you should be fine. And then this pupil is going to go over here. Like that. And then I'm going to take my black and I'm going to clean up any outside edges here. And we want to make sure our eye is circular. You can have like a little triangle area over here for like the cornea area if you wanted to do that. All right, and then we're going to take a little tiny bit of white and we're going to give it some highlight. So right along the outside of where we put the black, it's going to make it look like it has kind of like a little bit of an eyelid. And then just a little bit underneath. And I'm going to go back with some more blue and white and add in so it's getting kind of dark there. So add the light around the side. And then you can take some more of your blue. This is a more detailed way of doing an eye. If you wanted to do it more simplistic, you would just do your color, your black dot, and then your white in the center. All right. So now we're going to take white and we're going to add in the little eye shines to the eye. So let's just put one right there. And then we're going to put the other one right there. And I'm going to put a little bit of white here. And then the whiskers. For the whiskers, it depends on what colors you did your face. If you did the same that I did, we're going to want to do a gray because we have white, like a lighter gray, and then a black. So we're going to need something kind of in between the two so it'll stand out. So I'm just going to mix kind of an in-between gray color. And then I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to go outward and I'm going to let the tip of the brush do all the work. So I'm hardly pushing on here at all. And then we're going to start here and I'm just barely going to go. So really light. We're going to do the same thing on this other side. And you can rotate your canvas around if it's easier. And you decide how long you want your whiskers. And then we're going to take a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of black and we're going to dot right at the end here where the whiskers start. Tiny, tiny bit. This just gives like the look like there's a hole, like depth. It gives it depth. Okay, so at this point, if you have any areas that you feel like you need to correct or you need to fix, you can do that. And make sure that you have all your background is completely coated and looks the way you want it. Make sure that you blow dry your painting before you say you're done. If we throw away the colors and then it dries and we see some areas that actually needed a second coat and we've already thrown our paint away, that is no fun. So just make sure that you take it to the blow dryer and give it one good glance over before you throw your paint away, and then make sure your sides are completely painted also, so you don't end up with somebody asking you if you're still working on this beautiful painting that you already finished. And then make sure you send us a picture of your cat. We want to see your creation and your cat, and we're sure it looks amazing. And we thank you so much for painting along with us today, and we look forward to painting with you again soon.